Hey, Battle Bill here with another video, and today we get to get back into some more Great League Go Battle League battles. Boy, am I excited. So, let me preface this video. I am not the greatest Pokemon Go PvP trainer in the world. I mean, obviously, I haven't been on the leaderboards in forever, and I'm still working on it. But the reason why I bring that up is because I want to go over this set of battles, and I don't want to get roasted in the comments. So, let's talk about what's going on here and why I bring that up. I'm trying out a completely new team. Last time we were doing Great League Go Battle League battles, I was using Double Mudboy, Skarmory lead, Swampert, and Whiscash in the back. Loved it. I gained hundreds of points in the beginning of Season 1 by running that in Great League. With Great League coming back and Galvantula kind of introducing itself into the Great League meta, I've fallen in love with the Pokemon. So I really want to use it on my Go Battle League team. So I've been kind of fiddling around with possible threes, and I've been using it in Go Battle League, so, you know, it's either going to be hit or miss, and I'm going to find out the hard way that the team I put together sucks, or maybe I made the right decisions. What I have settled on, because this is not my first set, this is actually my final set, but that's because I changed up the team a few times. I was running Galvantula with a load of different Pokemon that I'm not going to go through right now, but what I currently fell on is a Double Electric type strategy, which is Galvantula as the lead, Altaria in the back, and Stunfisk in the back. So Double Electric, Stunfisk with the Electric and Ground typing, and then Galvantula with the Electric and Bug typing. One of them at least resists the Ground typing, whereas Stunfisk has access to some Ground type moves, so it gives it some versatility. And then Altaria to cover their main weakness of Grass. Yeah, I know Galvantula's a Bug, so it actually resists the Grass, but still Galvantula's glassy. So a Grass type would still do solid damage to the team, so I needed something like Altaria to kind of even it out. So let's get into the battles, and let's remember that I prefaced this video with saying I'm not the best trainer, which means that when I get into these battles, there are a lot of mistakes, and they've cost me some matches, and we're going to talk about it. So, this first matchup, I missed the name. I'm running my Galvantula as a lead, and I run into Minun as the lead. And I'm like, interesting. That's a bit of a spice pick. I have to give props. As I was doing my sets today, I was seeing a lot of spice compared to the beginning of Season 1 Great League Go Battle League battles. Regardless, the Minun's going for its charge move. I know I'm going to resist both the moves it throws, whether it's this discharge or it's the Grass Knot. So I didn't shield the first move. I go for my own discharge here. And I'm going for it just because I know it's going to be resisted, but I want to try and bait the shield out, which I end up getting. I want to bait the shield out so I can land my Bug Buzz because I know it'll be neutral, but I know it'll hit really hard. This Minun's now going for its next charge move, and it actually ends up being Grass Knot, which I found fascinating. It was just a waste of extra energy. Like I said, both are resisted, so it wasn't worth throwing it. Either way, I shielded it. I'm going for my Bug Buzz here, and if this goes unshielded, then it will take out the Minun, and I will be off to a bit of a lead advantage because I baited it. Goes unshielded, I win lead. It brings in their Swampert, and you know, Swampert you would expect to essentially wall my Galvantula, but because I have access to that Bug Buzz, you're about to see how much an unshielded Bug Buzz does to a Swampert. I think this trainer was trying to commit to a farm down, but look at that, I got him all the way in the red because he decided not to shield. But he was committing to the farm down, but those ground type mud shots aren't super effective. They're neutral because of Galvantula's bug typing. Anyhow, Altaria's coming in. Whatever the charge move is, I know I can definitely tank it from Swampert. He ends up throwing a Hydro Cannon, so I decided not to shield, and now I'm just going to farm it down a little bit, and I'm going to wait to see what the next Pokemon is, and this trainer ends up quitting. So whatever they had in the back must have been really weak to my Altaria, because they didn't even know what my third Pokemon was, and I'm not complaining. Off to a 1-0 start. Team's looking solid. Obviously, with any Go Battle League team, there's going to be weaknesses, especially because of Great League and how diverse it is. But we're going to talk about some of the weaknesses soon as we get into a couple more battles. This next battle is up against Marcelo CC. And again, I'm committing to the Galvantula lead, and they lead with an Altaria. This Altaria is one of my team's weaknesses, mostly because my only real counter would be to mirror with Altaria's. Luckily, because it's a flying type, on top of its dragon typing, these volt switches that I'm using and these discharges I'm going to throw are going to deal neutral damage, and discharge is a pretty strong charge attack coming from somebody like Galvantula. He ends up shielding the first discharge, and he's committing to Dragon Breathing me, and I'm expecting a Sky Attack, so I swap in my Stunfisk. I wanted to try and save a shield and preserve my shields. So he's going for the Sky Attack, and I know that my Stun Fisk will resist it, so it takes minimum damage, whereas my Galvantula would have actually taken neutral, not super effective, but it still would have taken it out because of how glassy Galvantula is. And now, interestingly enough, this trainer actually brings in an Azumarill to counter my Stun Fisk, which I found very fascinating. I understand why, because the bubbles are still dealing super effective damage, and if the Azumarill gets to the Ice Beams, those Ice Beams will also deal super effective damage, so I'm forced to shield here. Ends up being a Play Rough, which I found interesting, but Play Rough is still a pretty strong move, so it would have done a solid chunk to my Stun Fisk. Either way, I'm just going to keep on spamming these discharges. I probably should have expected a shield. I was baiting with the Mud Bomb here, because I ended up getting the shield there, but I decided against it because if it went unshielded, then the Mud Bomb would have done very minimal damage, so that was my concern. Either way, I do get to another discharge, and it doesn't end up taking out the Azumarill, because Stun Fisk is pretty tanky, which means its attack isn't as high as something like my Galvantula, whereas my Galvantula is very glassy. Either way, they throw a Play Rough, and I want to commit to having switch advantage, so they switch out, they bring in their Altaria, and I'm like, oh snap. I should have gone for the immediate switch, but because I'm using a new team, I'm still kind of struggling to figure out what decisions or figure out my decision-making process. So I went for the discharge here. I swap in my Altaria, and I'm like, you know what? We both have no shields here. Whatever charge move this Altaria shoots off, I'll be able to tank. And it actually ends up being a Dragon Pulse, which does a solid amount, but not enough, so I can at least commit to the Dragon Breath down of their Altaria and hopefully get to another charge move. So I'm waiting to see. I'm pretty confident the Azumarill is going to come back in. My goal is to at least get to the Sky Attack and throw it as fast as I possibly can. He ends up bringing in a Melmetal, so I'm like, oh, snap. That's not the Azumarill. That's not going to take it out. Melmetal is glassy in the Great League, though, so like even though it's a resisted Sky Attack, that still does like a decent chunk. I'd say about a fifth to a quarter of that Melmetal's health. He's committing to the Thunder Shock down, and I know he's got a bunch of energy, and I know Rock Slide will deal super effective damage to my Galvantula. So my plan here is to send in Stun Fisk and let it eat a charge move, because he couldn't continue to farm my Stun Fisk down with Thunder Shocks, because even though my Stun Fisk is super low in health, those Thunder Shocks from Melmetal would not have done much damage because it would have been double resisted, or even triple resisted, so he had to throw the charge move. Either way, a Galvantula comes in, and I'm able to get to this discharge, which is great. This discharge is actually going to finish off the Melmetal, and when the Azumarill comes back in, I throw one more Volt Switch, and I take it right down. This team's looking fantastic. This team's looking fantastic at first. I'm off to a 2-0 start, and now we're going to get into the next 3 battles. So remember, I prefaced this video by saying I'm not one of the greatest trainers in the world. I'm working on it. Not quite there. These next 3 battles are going to be filled with a bunch of mistakes that I make because I'm getting used to the team that I have. There's some matchups that I'm not too familiar with because I'm using Galvantula and Stun Fisk, 2 Pokemon I rarely use. But we'll get into the battles. This next one's up against Matt in the head, and we'll talk about where I go wrong. But either way, I still feel like this is a viable team, and I'm going to continue working with it. Anyhow, the leads are Galvantula against Marowak. I need to get out of there because I'm going to be taking super effective damage from the Fire Spins. I bring in my Stun Fisk, and then interestingly enough, again, I get countered by an Azumarill. So I'm like, maybe I can win back. Switch advantage. I go for this discharge here. It lands. It does a solid amount. It does about a third of Azumarill's health. At this point, though, I should have known because I was able to land that discharge that I need to bait a Mud Bomb. That's one thing I really learned with the Stun Fisk Azumarill matchup. I really need to bait. It's not the biggest difference in energy, but Mud Bomb is a little bit cheaper, and baiting it would definitely help me win some of these matchups more convincingly. Either way, I decide not to bait. I go for this discharge, fully knowing well that they're going to end up shielding. They do end up shielding, and now we're at 1 shield apiece, and I'm hoping I can beat him to the next discharge. I beat him to the next discharge. I'm wondering if he's going to commit to double shielding or if he's going to let it go through. He double shields. So I'm thinking to myself, do I want to double shield and get switch advantage? Not really. I'm going to actually bring in my own Galvantula, let it get a bunch of energy, so that when he decides to bring his Marowak back in, I can chuck a bunch of discharges at it. But he switches, and he brings in Whiscash. I was expecting Marowak to come back in just to deal with the Galvantula. Now here is my first mistake. He has no shields. which means he really needs to land this Blizzard on my Altaria, which means he really needs to bait me, and I took the bait. It was one of the most obvious baits in the world, because if I don't shield that, the next one's going to be a Blizzard. I will be able to shield that, and I can come out of this situation squeaky clean and off to my third win in a row. I end up shielding that, and you're going to see my poor Altaria lose this matchup, even though his Whiscash is in the red, and my Altaria almost has full health, because this Blizzard literally one-shots my Altaria, and that is the first mistake I end up making in this match. That one's less of learning a team and more of like a knucklehead decision, not realizing that he almost definitely needed to bait me, so I should have not shielded. Either way, I'm still playing out the match, hoping for the best. His Marowak has a bunch of health. Luckily, my Galvantula has some energy, so I get to that discharge. I'm hoping I can get to another one. I'm 1 volt switch away. I don't get there in time. He needs to go for the Shadow Ball, because Bone Club would still be neutral and would not take out my Galvantula. He goes for the Shadow Ball, takes out my Galvantula, and that ends up being my first loss of the set. So, hindsight, it's pretty obvious to shield there. I know better usually. Using a new team, I make bonehead decisions. I'm now 2-1 when I really easily could have been 3-0. Oh well, time to get into the next match, learn that lesson there, especially because he had no shields. So like, in my brain at the time, I thought he could have gotten the 2 Blizzards, which is why I was expecting that. But I forgot, SkyTech does a good chunk, and he would not be able to get the 2 Blizzards. So there was my mistake. We get into the next matchup against For the Shiggles, and it's my Galvantula lead on his Umbreon, and I'm wondering to myself if he knows how much a Bug Buzz from Galvantula does. So really what I should have done after I charged up to that Bug Buzz was I should have just gone straight for the Bug Buzz. He's going for his charge move. I'm going to end up shielding it. I was kind of just hoping to bait. I was hoping this person knew better about Bug Buzz. I don't know, maybe they just expected the bait. That could have also been it. But regardless, I go for this Bug Buzz, and I already remember, because I just did these battles, that it goes unshielded. If I would have landed the Bug Buzz, it wouldn't have taken out the Umbreon, but it would have done a lot more damage. And here's my next mistake. Brings in a Mawile with Fire Fang. I'm like, what should I bring in to counter this? I made a quick decision because like I just feel comfortable with Altaria. But after I bring it in, I'm like, wait a minute. Dragon Breath resisted. Dragon Breath is resisted. Sky attacks are resisted. And Mawile also has access to Play Rough, which is going to do solid damage to my Altaria. He has a 2 shield to 1 shield advantage, and I kind of know this is a Play Rough coming through, but at the same time, I decide not to shield it because I don't want to be down to 2-0 shield disadvantage. So that ends up being my next mistake. I should have brought in Stunfisk. Stunfisk would have dealt super effective damage with the Mud Bombs, and that would have been a much different outcome. So, and I would have still had switch advantage. I wouldn't have lost it like I just did. So I bring in Stunfisk now. I go for this Mud Bomb before they're able to get to their charge move. I'm hoping to either take it out or grab a shield. It grabs a shield. And I know that Mawile runs Play Rough and Power Up Punch, and I know I need to get to another charge move to take out this Mawile, so I was kind of hoping he was going to bait me to like go for the Power Up Punch and then throw the Play Rough. He ends up not baiting me, throwing the Play Rough, and I end up taking it to the face, which is not a great sign either. Either way, now I'm going for the next Mud Bomb, and I know he's definitely not going to shield this because his Mawile has done a hell of a job, and my Mud Bomb will now take it out. I'm expecting the Umbreon to come back in, so I go for the immediate switch. It ends up being an Azumarill, which is fascinating. Again, because he stuttered on his switch, I thought he was just going to keep in his Azumarill in there longer for some reason, so I go and throw the Discharge when I should have waited and assumed that switch out was going to happen. Anyhow, my discharge ends up landing on the Umbreon. I decide to shield here because now my hope is that the Umbreon's really low. I know Umbreon can charge up charge moves pretty quickly, so I'm hoping the Volt Switch down, get him all the way down. You see that Volt Switch go through? I hate that it looks like that because that looks like the Volt Switch is hitting and should be taking out the Umbreon. It didn't. I tried to overfarm. It was my only win condition left. He ends up getting to the foul play just in time, and that ends up being GG. Because if I was able to Volt Switch that Umbreon down, I would have had 2 discharges for the Azumarill. One would have gotten a shield, the other one would have done a solid chunk, and then this discharge from my Stunfisk would have done enough damage to then take out the Azumarill and win this match. But unfortunately, a couple of mistakes compiled together ended up costing me this match, and now I am 2-2 for the set. I do believe if I would have switched in Stunfisk on the Mawile, even though that would have lined up as Azumarill with my Altaria, I believe that my Stunfisk matchup on his Mawile would have been so positive that I would have still been able to deal some extra damage to his Azumarill later on, or the Umbreon if he brought it back in. Regardless, I would have had switch advantage, so like I would have had a better chance of winning that match. So we're getting into the 5th match. I have my Galvantula on a Registeel lead, and I've run the Sims, and according to the Sims, Galvantula wins this matchup. It also wins a matchup against Azumarill leads, which is why I really want to buckle down and get a Galvantula team together, because when Season 1 started, Azumarill and Registeel were like the main staples that I ran into all the time. Anyhow, I landed my discharge. She is now going for a Flash Cannon because both of Registeel's charge moves on Galvantula are resisted, but because Galvantula is so glassy, they still deal solid damage. Either way, I'm just trying to commit to going for another discharge. I know that I have to definitely use a shield here because then the Flash Cannon will take out my Galvantula, but I'm going to go for my discharge. I'm going to hope that either I get the shields or I get it low enough that I'm able to then Volt Switch it down. So I'm going for my discharge here. This is either going to get the Registeel super low or get the shield. Decides not to shield, which was interesting. Down to like 1 HP. I throw another Volt Switch and take it out. And I'm almost at another discharge because I farmed up a little bit extra energy. Sableye comes in. You want to go for the Bug Buzz, essentially, because it would deal super effective damage because Sableye has a Dark typing. But because she has 2 shields, I knew she was almost definitely going to shield in that situation, so I just went for the discharge because it made the most sense. Now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, which Pokemon has a better matchup against Sableye? I know Sableye has Power Gem, but I also know that it only does so much damage. So I bring in Altaria, knowing I can tank a Power Gem if he throws it, and then I could still get to a Sky Attack and either get a Sableye super low or get the shield. But he decides to throw Foul Play, switches out, brings in Azumarill. Now I have my Stunfisk on Azumarill, and this is again looking like another positive matchup. I'm going for a discharge. I need to start baiting with Stunfisk against Azumarill, but regardless, I land that discharge. It does solid damage again, and I'm knowing that my Altaria is not going to have a positive matchup against her Azumarill, so I don't have a choice but to shield, no matter what the charge move is. Ends up being Play Rough, which again is more positive for me, because it takes more energy, and Ice Beam would take me out, whereas Play Rough doesn't. And now I'm going for another discharge, and I'm assuming this will most likely get the shields. It ends up not getting the shield, so it's a good thing I didn't go for the bait. And I'm hoping that I can get to another charge move, maybe commit to a farm down, but again, at the same time, this trainer's not running Ice Beam, so when the Play Rough comes through, it doesn't take me out, and I can commit to the farm down. Here's where I make my next mistake. Let's wait for that Sableye to come in. I go for the discharge, and I had a bunch of extra energy from farming down the Azumarill. Let's just keep that in mind. That doesn't get the shield. I bring in my Altaria thinking to myself, let's just commit to the farm down. Why? Why did I think that? Because I forgot how much I farmed up on my Stunfisk. So I commit to a farm down, but now she gets to a Power Gem, takes out my Altaria, when I could have thrown a Sky Attack, gotten that last shield, and now my Stunfisk has enough energy for a discharge that I could have used to then win this match. I could have been 5-0 in this set. I made so many mistakes. So please, don't roast me in the comments. I realize my mistakes. I'm showing them to you guys because it's important that I learn from them, and maybe you guys can too if you want to test these Pokemon, because I really do feel like this is a solid team. And I will have another video on this team soon after I get better with it to show you its real strengths. Honestly, if you're going to roast me in the comments, I deserve it. But I promise you, this team has play in Go Battle League. I could have finished that set with a winning record. That was my last set of the day, so I didn't really have a choice but to show you this set because I really wanted to upload something Great League related to YouTube today. But hopefully when tomorrow comes around, which will be Aber Community Day, which is Saturday, April 25th, apparently Niantic tweeted out we're going to also get 7 sets of battles on that day, because Europe, I think, had technical issues during their Marrow Battle Day, and they're going to get their, 20 sets or 100 battles, so they decided to be nice to the rest of us and give us 7 sets. So I will definitely be taking advantage of that. I will be getting used to this team. I will use it better, and I will either have a video on that, where I perform better with that team, or I will have my first Forest Cup Sylph battle video coming out tomorrow. So either one of those two things. tomorrow. I'm trying not to say days just because you watch this video later on, it gets dated. But April 25th is also my regional, so I'm going to try and record that too. I don't know when that'll be uploaded. I'm going to try to upload that. I'm just, you know, I got a lot of different avenues I can go with the next video. And the tournament ones usually take me a while because the FP Sticks video was like a week after the tournament actually happened. Again, I'm still getting used to all this YouTube stuff. Either way, let me know what you think of my team. Let me know what teams of 3 you've been trying in Great League, or, you know, all the leagues are back. So let me know in the comment section what league you've been preferring, because I definitely prefer Great League, and I really want to get better with this team. But I'm going to be the first person to showcase Double Electric. So let me think. Let me know what you think of the team. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video, and don't forget, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.